Hello, and welcome to this episode of Booked by Dubb. My name is Ruben.
I'm Rob.
And tell me, Rob, what book are we reviewing today?
A famous one. The oldie but goodie, The Little Red Book of Selling by Jeffrey Gitomer.
It's one of those books that go back to over and over and over again, because as you evolve as a salesperson, you realize that a lot of the concepts in the book are relevant in different ways depending on where you are in your career. How many concepts are we going to review in this book?
We are going to do 6 of the most important concepts we believe that we're going to take from the book, and we're going to relate them to video.
Now, that to me sounds like a hook. These are the 6 most important things that you need to learn and take away from the Little Red Book of Selling.
So the number one concept we're going to start with today that Jeffrey Gitomer talks about in the Little Red Book of Selling is if you had to make a sale for your life, Ruben, for your life, text-based email does not work. You know what works? Face-to-face.
You're telling me that if I'm fighting for my life and if the gun is pointed to my head, don't write them an email, don't write them a text message, go face-to-face if possible.
That is, according to Jeffrey Gitomer, the only option if you truly want to live.
So when your life depends on it, don't send emails. I think that's my takeaway, Rob.
How does that get related to someone's out there, they got Dubb, they're getting ready to send a video out?
I'll tell you this, if someone had a gun pointed to my head, I'd rather be on the other side of a video than in person. Something that just seems safer about that to me.
All of it seems safer.
And more effective.
Yeah, and more effective. Why is face-to-face so valuable with video?
I mean, this seems so obvious.
Explain it, Captain Obvious.
Here reporting Captain Obvious. Let's start with just the sheer humanity of looking at someone in their eyes. And when I say face-to-face, I actually don't necessarily think of physically being next to the person or in front of the person. I think of asynchronous, synchronous. So this is like a Zoom, it's a teleconference. It's also pre-recording a video, sending that to them over email or SMS or LinkedIn or something. So that's like face-to-face. It doesn't have to be physically in front of each other. Number one, it's more human. You can trust the person. You can look in their eyes. If you look in their eyes, it's like the windows into their soul.
It's like the windows into their soul.
Can I see myself working with you? Do I like you?
That's
Do I feel like I know you? I mean, what's human about text? What's human about an email? There's nothing human about that. In fact, most of us ignore emails and text-based messages. That's just a fact.
And that's number one. This is number 2, building relationships.
It's really important that I hold really, really, really close to my heart is building relationships, because for a long time in my career, I did not understand what that meant. For me, it was about what technology can I build? What can I learn? What can I create? And I didn't necessarily understand the importance of building long-lasting relationships, which are mutually beneficial, where I'm providing value, the other person is providing value, and we're lifting each other up on our way up to the top. And that realization there was probably one of the most important of my life. That's where I started to really invest into my LinkedIn account, my audience, my brand, my personal story, you know? Networking is a massive part of what we do. The saddest part about networking is that most people, tell me if you disagree with this.
Okay, I'm getting ready to disagree, but go ahead.
Most people...
You're wrong.
disagree with me. No, most people network when they need something. Most people network when they just got laid off. Most people network when they're trying to raise some money or trying to get clients, and they don't think about it on a day-to-day basis like eating healthy or working out, where one day if they need something, they can kind of tap into that network. It's very selfish, in fact.
But that's where we talk about practice, 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 practice. And once you get into the flow, as you like to say, then it becomes daily, then it becomes routine, then it becomes part of your life, and you're not, having that alter ego motive, so it becomes day to day.
Building relationships is everything, and this book talks about that a lot. You can try to close someone and sell someone and make them a client as fast as you possibly can, or you can take the time to invest into a relationship that keeps bringing gifts, referrals and testimonials and feedback, and most importantly, a friend. Gitomer talks about the importance of building those relationships. Don't just try to close the deal. Build a friend, build a relationship, because that's the gift that keeps giving.
If you can't build the door frame, you can't put on the door. And it's just really that simple. So,
did you just call me a door frame?
No, I said building a door frame, not your door frame. Yeah. Ooh, that was a close one. What are we talking about? No. How do we relate building relationships to video? That's the key, right?
Yes.
Video helps us build relationships by that absolute 100%, you're not going anywhere, I'm not going anywhere, we're right here connection. And that's what Gitomer means by face-to-face. That's what he means by building relationships. Video is the fastest way to get the rapport with someone, and it'll get you through the door quicker than anything else. Paramount to building relationships.
Here's a funny little anecdote about that. So, you remember Rachel?
From Friends? Yeah, who are we talking about?
I'm not talking about Aniston. In the mortgage industry.
Oh, yeah, Rachel.
She sent us a video saying, hey, thanks for building Dubb. I've had a great experience.
Number one, everybody gets way too many emails, and the click-through rate is such a small percentage. When I started using Dubb, I noticed that my click-through rate for sales, it skyrocketed, probably 40, 50%. Thanks again.
And what was interesting is that I ended up forwarding it to you. I sent it to Darius, and she actually called me out on that. She's like, hey, I noticed in the Dubb activity tracking that a lot of people watched my video from different cities. And she said, what was up with that? And I said, well, that's because you sent us such an amazing video.
Yeah.
And we were impressed. And we're like, who is this person? Let's get to know her. And we didn't feel like you were selling anything. I'm talking to her in like second person now, like she's in front of me.
Rachel, would you agree to that? Where are you?
It's so neat and human how she sent that personal email. And frankly, it made me want to forward it to people. Multiple people at the company saw that video from her. And that is how video can be used to build relationships.
Number 3, provide value, not prices.
I truly believe that if a salesperson is in a situation where they're negotiating on price, they haven't conveyed the value. Because any product that's worth its weight should have a very significant ROI, right? If you spend $100, you get 1,000 back. If that is not conveyed and the ROI is not conveyed, then people directly go to discounting. We all do it. We're all guilty of this. Every salesperson, every negotiator, at some point they have to end up in the price game. But usually it doesn't end well because it often becomes a slippery slope. The negotiations keep happening, the discount requests.
A lot of sales reps do that where they go immediately to price reduction and they don't realize they need to re-emphasize or reintroduce value. That's the key. Gittimer talks a lot about that. So talk to me more about value and how important that is in terms of the salesperson conveying that to the prospect.
I think the most experienced salespeople understand that saying, hey, I just wanted to follow up on my email, or I just wanted to bump you or float this to the top, that comes from a selfish place. That's just saying, I'm a salesperson. I want you to respond to my emails so that I can move my pipeline and make my commission.
That says, I'm selfish. I want what I want right now.
On the contrary, always in a state of providing value means, hey, what case study can I send this person? What data can I send this person? Is there a referral? Is there a testimonial? Is there more information that they've requested? Is there some way that I can very altruistically send them something that's not going to benefit me? Maybe even sending them in a direction where I might even potentially lose them. That takes confidence. And that type of mutual benefit, that's what Gittimer talks about in terms of how ideal relationships in business should be. Based on value.
Mutual rising of the ranks, so to speak, for both sides. Number 4, personal branding. And why is this red light in my face? Well, let me tell you why. Jeffrey Gittimer did the book Little Red Book of Selling. He also wears a red customer service shirt with his name on it. Looks like he's ready to replace your oil, but in reality, he's ready to replace your income if you follow what he does. So that's why that light was just in my face. Thank you so much, Ruben. Where's the camera? I can't see.
That was a Gittimer brand thing, man. We had to make you red for a minute.
Let's talk about in-depth personal branding. How does it relate to video?
Creating our videos is what allows us to clone ourselves. When we clone ourselves and we put our videos out on social networks like YouTube and LinkedIn and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook, it's effectively putting our brand out there. It's propagating our brand, propagating our messaging, educating people, building relationships, having people create those parasocial relationships with us. That is all branding. Gone are the days now where branding is a logo or simply an experience. Now it's a personality. It's a human being that's trying to educate, to entertain, to build a community, and so on. So putting video out there, that's probably the easiest form of personal branding in today's age.
Number 5, make friends first. Be friendly, but be professional. How does that apply to our current world that we live in and related to the video lens?
For me, one of the first things that this comes down to is networking. If you're not networking every single day on LinkedIn, on social networks, out there in the real world, however you want to do it, if you're not networking and building up relationships, nurturing the existing ones, acquiring new relationships, you're not necessarily growing. If you ever need to tap into your sphere of influence, if you need clients or fundraisers or feedback or advice or whatever have you, if you don't have that growing community, there's nothing that you'll be able to tap into. And most importantly, if you're not providing value to your network, to your community, then what is in it for them? Why would they stick around and follow you or connect with you? So having that selfless attitude, I think, is the most important thing that Gittimer talks about.
Gittimer also talks about old school Toastmasters. Would the current version of that be TikTok Masters?
TikTok Masters.
TikTok Masters, is that out
Probably,
there?
probably.
Okay.
Speaking of Toastmasters, one of the things that I always think about is have they evolved as an organization to embrace more authentic communication, less kind of contrived communication, more kind of colloquial. I went through a couple of Toastmaster classes, and there's literally people in the audience that count the number of filler words that you use. Ooh. If you go to some of the most popular TED Talks, there's plenty of filler words. I don't know if they've evolved to adapt more of a kind of a conversational style of comm. Not sure about that. No diss on test Toastmasters.
Test Masters, that's something else.
That's LSAT courses.
Yeah. Do you want to say or ah? Well, maybe not, but this isn't a course. You're not getting graded. This is real life communication. Number 6, reduce the risk is what Gitmer talks about.
Can we say that at the same time?
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Reduce the risk. One more time. Reduce the risk.
What does that mean?
What were we talking about?
Reducing the risk.
Okay. You want to reduce the risk of the client/prospect. It's not reduce your own risk, it's reduce their risk. How would we reduce risk with video, and does that really complete the trust circle when we do that? I am a firm believer that if you can show the client or prospect, the person that you're selling, that your value that you've brought to the table, if that value can make that prospect look at your offer and say, you know, this just doesn't feel that risky to me. It doesn't feel like I sat down at the blackjack table, you know, I'm getting ready to throw down a bunch of money on a track race or something like that. It doesn't feel like that. You know what it feels like? It feels like sitting in a financial advisor's office in a high rise with a very competent person sitting across the desk from me who had just given me a valuable piece of information and a client list that's absolutely impressive. I feel comfortable. So if you can provide value to your client, that will reduce the risk massively on their part, and then at the end of the day, they're going to close with you.
I remember someone told me once, the reason why they did not want to choose a vendor for a specific project was because they feared the risk of getting fired if they made a mistake. And it was an ultimate fear-based sentiment that this person felt, and it was too bad for the vendor because I know from my recollection they were the right partner to do this job, but the person did not want to take the risk of bringing them on because they were new, they had no relationship, you know, from the past, and it scared them, and that fear made them not act. It made them freeze, essentially. It was a total amygdala hijack, fear-driven decision, which wasn't necessarily rooted in logic.
It was hire or flight, huh?
Yeah. I think the takeaway here is that when we, as salespeople, do the best job that we can do to make the other person, the prospect, the client, the contact, the customer, comfortable in making that decision, and knowing that they have the confidence that they did make the right decision, knowing that other people have made that decision and that only good things have happened, that makes the whole process so much easier. So this is why it's so important to use social validation, to leverage social proof. How are other people succeeding in their relationship with you? If they are a customer of yours, how are they benefiting? Now, I don't think anyone expects for something to be perfect. In fact, when people make mistakes, when companies make mistakes, the best thing that they can do is to have that open, transparent communication that says, hey, this happened and here's how we're going to resolve it. And oftentimes, those become opportunities to make the relationship even stronger because they're based on trust. So the takeaway here again is it's so important to think about mitigating the other person's risk, not about increasing your pipeline conversion rate.
And that's what it comes down to in general from an umbrella perspective of it's about them, it's not about you.
Yeah.
That's really what it's all about.
I think that's the most evolved statement that a salesperson can realize. Will you just say that again? That was perfect.
It's very simple. You want to make it about them, not about you. And I know that sounds really simple, but it is the ultimate in umbrella thinking in terms of a concept. Because once you've got that down, it just leaks into everything else that you do and it shows to the client. Thank you for joining us today. That was the 6 most important concepts that we pulled from Jeffrey Gitomer's Little Red Book of Selling and how they apply to video and how you can use them for success. We hope you enjoyed watching today's video. What do they have to do, Ruben?
If you like this video, then consider subscribing. And if you didn't, also consider subscribing. And then the little notification bell, that's going to get you pings when we drop new videos just like this one. Thank you so much for your support. If there was one of these points that in particular inspired you, please leave us a comment below. And if you like this video, give us a big fat yes in the comments. And do not forget to click that like button because the YouTube algorithm loves it. Thanks so much, guys. See you on the next one.
Bye, guys.